Hello everybody, welcome to Liam's Library. As you can see, we have Pennywise standing on Chucky's shoulders. We've got the great, late Heath Ledger. And we've got me, your host, for the afternoon. I I owe a video to my channel, but I also, I'm supposed to be sitting in that room writing chapter 4 of my latest novel. I mean, I'm unpublished. You know this, but I'm working on my third novel. The title's changed, and I'm really happy with the title. But it's not about the title; it's about the plot, and it's about the characters. And the reason I'm taking my time with my characters is because I don't think anybody wants to read anything unless you can relate, not even relate to the characters, just find something in them that makes you interested. So I wrote 2.5 pages, but I'm going to do 6. I've had a bit of an emotional time. I've spent a lot of time in hospital lately. This review is the Shawshank Redemption. And it's not the book Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. I don't even know if I've talked about this before, but in a quartet of novellas that Stephen King released earlier in his career. I think it's his very first quartet of novellas. One of them was called Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. And don't be fooled into thinking it's Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, because there's no "the" in the title. It's Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. But I thought I'd just do a part 1 of it, because there's way too much to talk about it. I definitely need to discuss the novel. I definitely need to discuss where Stephen King was when he wrote it. He was drinking very heavily, as you know that I do. I drink very, very heavily, and I'm working on it. Christmas is coming up. Hudson's going to have a great Christmas. My son, my little son, I don't get to see my older boys. And my grandmother, my nan, wants us all to get together down in Bunbury, which is what we're all going to do. With help from my Auntie Marge. Big shout out to my Auntie Maggie, who rules. And let's hope my brother Sean gets there. Whether Davey comes or not, well, that remains to be seen. I love him too, though. Our family is very complicated. So I decided I'd take 5. And I realized, shit, I don't just have to work on chapter fucking 4. I have to fucking also give a video. So I'm just going to call this one part 1. And we're going to talk about characters. Because in the book I'm writing, I'm really taking my time. My first novel is just a vampire novel about 17-year-olds that turn into vampires and kill each other. It's like an Australian Lost Boys. But the thing is, my body count is up to, there's I think 450 people die, and one person makes it out alive, and at the end, he dies anyway. It's a bit of a Thelma and Louise. My second novel is an anthology with a lot of my short stories that I thought could make it. And I actually tried to get published through Fremantle Press and had this running current through it, with a backstory called The Conduits that puts it all together. It was called What the Dead Man Said. My first novel is called I'll See You at the End. My second novel is called What the Dead Man Said. The novel I'm working on now, though, is called Pennywise Just Tried to Run Away. Hang on, I'll just hang on to him. He's the reason we're here in the first place. My third novel is called The Eyes of Kimberly Ann. And I think that's a better title than what was originally titled. It was originally called Mirror Men. And it's almost like an Australian version of The Ring. that Japanese horror novel and movie. The book was by Koji Suzuki. The movie, I think, was done. No, it wasn't done by Takashi Shimizu. It wasn't. I always forget who directed it, but it was very scary. About revenge and a ghost that comes back from the dead. But I think this time I'm taking my time because I really want to develop characters. Which brings me to what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Shawshank Redemption, the movie written for the screen and directed for the screen by Frank Darabont. Frank Darabont also did The Green Mile, he did The Mist, and he brought The Walking Dead graphic novels to the screen. But one of his very first endeavors was Shawshank Redemption. And I just want to talk about maybe a couple of things. I think the film is fantastic. I think the soundtrack is brilliant. I also think that the fact that we get to see Andy Dufresne's trial, it's about a man who murders his cheating wife and her lover and goes to a really, really dangerous prison for two back-to-back life sentences. And we have to see him survive. And we watch him. We watch him as we go through it. Somebody mentioned once, I can't even remember who it was somebody on YouTube mentioned it would be good to know whether, like, if we kept it a mystery, whether he was innocent or guilty. But I've read the book and I've watched the movie 100 times, and we know he didn't do it. It was just the worst coincidences you could ever get, and that's how you get behind a guy like that. So whoever said that, it might have even been Doug Walker, Nostalgia Critic. He might have said it. I'm not gonna fucking plug his channel because I don't get paid to do these movies. I do them because they make me feel better. And I've had a bit of a time. Lately. Chucky, I swear to God, if you come alive and stab me, I'll fucking rip your legs off and arms off and burn you in the fire. And then, you can come back every year and terrorize me. Anyway, Pennywise, are we good? Are we good to keep going? So Andy Dufresne kills his lover, his wife, and her lover. And that's why he goes to jail for life. But spoilers. This movie came out, I think, in 91. I'm spilling because my mum died in 1990. She would have loved this fucking movie. I know she would have read the book. So she didn't get to see how good Frank Darabont did the film. But there's a couple of things. And I'm going to try to keep this short. We're already bloody 8 minutes in. Fuck. Red. Okay, so there's a character in this book named Red, and in the novella, Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, Red is narrating the entire thing, talking about how Andy gets there, talking about this, talking about that, talking about how the prison operates, talking about the wardens, talking about the screws, and Red is a white Irish guy with big red hair. That's why they call him Red. Now, in the movie, his name is Ellis Redding, and while they're playing ball, Andy says to him, this is in the film version, Andy says to him, and because played by Morgan Freeman, so the race thing doesn't bother me. It's also the first time Morgan Freeman has played a character from a Stephen King book who is actually white in the book. It's not the last time. He did it in Dreamcatcher. Colonel Kurtz or whatever his fucking name is from Dreamcatcher is a white guy, but Morgan Freeman fucking makes it work so good. I couldn't picture anybody. Even when I read the book and I know he's just some crazy white guy, it's like, nah, just picture Morgan Freeman doing it. He's way better at it. he crosses the boundaries, and I'm not here to talk about race because I did not study social science, and I could give a fuck, and we all know I'm not racist, because all my ex-girlfriends who died are Noongar, but we're not going to go there, because then I'll get real emotional, because I miss them. Anyway. Rest in peace, Jennifer Ann Humes, which is kind of why I get the title for my book, Kimberly Ann. Anyway, the way that the narration is done is really well done. There is another actor I want to quickly talk about in this movie, Shawshank Redemption by Frank Darabont. I would like to talk about the actor Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown is the voice of fucking Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob SquarePants. He's also fucking Gus from Pet Sematary 2. And he is Byron Hadley in the movie Shawshank Redemption. He's the scary security prick that beats you to death if he feels like it and shoots you and does whatever the fuck he wants. And you don't fuck with that man. I think he should have been Freddy Krueger after number 4. And then done the remake. And then we always just know Clancy Brown and Robert Englund are Freddy Krueger. You know what I mean? And I'm aware, elephant in the room, I'm aware Clancy Brown was in the terrible remake with Jackie Earle Haley. It wasn't Jackie Earle Haley's fault Freddy Krueger remake sucked. It was the director's fault. But Clancy Brown, more than Kevin Bacon, even though Kevin Bacon could have done a really good Freddy Krueger. I think Clancy Brown is so underrated and so scary and so just nightmarish. He would have been perfect. And in this movie, he's the one that's killing everybody. But we have to think about this. This is a movie. We're not talking about the book. Talking about the movie. This is a movie about prisoners. And if one of them's innocent, so let's say the main character, Andy Dufresne, we know that Red isn't, played by Morgan Freeman, because in the book, it tells us that he did murder his missus to try to get insurance money when he was like 21. And he got life for that. This is, we're talking late 30s here in Maine. So we have to understand that there's good and bad in people, and there's heart and soul in people, whether they're monsters or not, unless they're fucking pedophiles, because then they have their own special place in hell, and when I get to hell, I'll see you there, and that's why I'll get a job, just to murder all you fucks. Shout out to, thank God we found her alive, Chloe or whatever her name was. Thank God we found her alive and happy, and she wasn't hurt, which is a big part of this, which is a big part of why I've had a bit of a bad week. I just think that we all need to stick together, and because my son's only 1 year old, I think we all need to point out the bad guys to each other and know who the real bad guys are. And they're not the fake people that I hang out with. They're the real monsters. And so I'm going to leave it. I think I'm going to leave it there, because this is just Shawshank Part 1. And this is not a book to film review, which I've done before with Green Mile, another Frank Darabont project. Stephen King, Frank Darabont. I'll just use video. So it's good to see us again. Listen, it's really good to see us again. Once again, like I tell you all the time, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, from the deepest part of my heart. Watch some good movies. Read some of the greatest books ever, even if it's hard to read, stick it out, but read them. And listen, don't ever, not once in your fucking life, ever take any shit from anyone. I'll see you next time.